In today's episode, we have Lisa Bingley with us, and she's going to tell us her story of getting into the real estate market and going on to teach others how she achieved her success. You will also get to hear how to focus on just the tasks that are the most productive, why you should build your business around servicing others, and some amazing marketing strategies to draw people into your world. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the Online Course Igniter podcast, where you'll hear from successful course creators and how they were able to turn their passion into a thriving online business empire. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the show today. We have a special guest with us, Lisa Bingley from agentleader.com, and I'm excited to have her on the show to talk and chat and learn about all things regarding online courses, and especially in her expertise, which is around the real estate niche. And I'm super excited to have you on the show today. Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think this will be a lot of fun. I think it's always interesting to get a wide variety of different niche topics when it comes to online courses, online programs, business, and so forth. And so I think this will be a really cool topic that a lot of people will find interest in. And so before we go ahead and begin and kind of dive into the meat of the show, why don't you take a moment and just let us know about a little bit about your backstory? What were you doing before you got into online business, and how did you get into the real estate business?
So when I got into real estate individually, it's been just a little over 7 years ago. And honestly, it was one of those midlife review times of life where, all my kids went to school and I was usually home taking care of them. And I gave myself a nice conversation and asked myself, if I could do anything, what did I want to do? Left it as an open book. I could do whatever I wanted, doctor, lawyer, whatever. What did I really want in life? And real estate was actually the thing for me. I love real estate because it does combine, it's so service oriented. It can be, not for everyone, but it is definitely a service oriented industry. And that's something that I always loved doing, was giving service and helping other people. And that's why a lot of people like to get into real estate, because they like the helping people portion of it. As I got in, I had to develop my own, methods to get my business growing. And what I didn't realize at the time was I had some pretty freaking awesome methods that later down the line, I was able to teach other agents. So for me personally, I sold 35 units my first year, which was not bad, but my goal was 5. So 35 was like way over the top for what my actual goal was. And I started looking at that after I, multiplied that the next year and sold, 55, and then it was 85 the next year, and then it was 105 the next year, and it just continued to increase. So about 2 years ago, I had a little bit more of a review in my life, and I realized that as much as I love to continue to make money, but I was enjoying teaching other people in my brokerage to be able to do the same. So I taken, people who were leaving other jobs, jumping into the industry, and they were making, $100,000, $200,000 a year with the guidance that I was providing to them, supporting their families, single moms. And that's really where I started to find out that I could help others even more than just my own clients. From there, I decided to take that and dive into how do I spread that information to other people. I didn't know anything about course creation at the time. I had taken some courses, but honestly, it was pretty funny. I didn't realize that it was a course. I mean, I did, but it's the same platform that I'm using now. But at the time, I just wanted to learn more, and I didn't really recognize how it was set up, the back end of it, and how they'd actually marketed it to me and all that other information that went with it. So I dove into that to figure out, okay, here's all this information that I have, and how do I take all that information? Number one, like organize it into a way that I can present it very thoroughly to other agents for them to be able to take that information and grow their own businesses.
Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting once you get into the back end side of things, you kind of see an overview of everything that's been happening to you, and you realize like, oh wow, I've been getting marketed to the whole time. Now I understand copy. Now I understand ads and all these things. It's kind of like, opening up a secret box that you didn't know about before. And then you see it everywhere, then you cannot see it, So that's pretty interesting. So that first year, going back just to the real estate stuff, when you said you had a goal of selling 5 units and you sold 35 units, what do you think was so successful with that?
There's a lot of common sense that's missing in real estate. There's so many, I think in any industry, right? There's so many shiny objects, tools, and all these things that people can pay for and do. And, with the presentations and the, lead gen programs and whatever, there's so many different things that you can do that aren't necessarily productive, but they're take a lot of time and they take a lot of money. When I started, I had a whole lot of time, but I didn't have any money. I quit my job. I was just doing medical transcription at home. And so I quit and it was like, okay, both feet in, like we're going to have to figure this out. What I started to develop and recognize was being able to master my market. I was also in a market that had never heard of my brokerage, and I had only moved there a couple years prior. So I really didn't know very many people. So I didn't get either of those things as an excuse to not be successful. We hear that a lot from agents that, I'm in an area, I don't have a sphere of influence and all this. Well, I didn't either. And you don't have to have that. But I started to create my business model is based on service. The amount of great service that you can provide to your clients and when they're listing or purchasing homes, it's almost a lost art, because the fancy part of things and the automated part of things is overriding the personal connections. Personal connections was everything for me. I'm just the mom working at home. And so I was great with personally connecting. And what I started to realize was those personal connections mean so much to people that now in my business and for the last 3 years of business, I don't seek out new clients. My phone rings at least 2 to 3 times a week. And my business is 95% referral and repeat business based. So every once in a while I'll pick up a random, but other than that, these are repeat clients and all referrals that come to me because of the way that I do business. In all things and all the operations of the business, that's what I teach, is from the marketing part of things to the transaction part of things, during the transaction to the follow-up part of things. You've got to have that personal touch in that in order to retain that client as a forever client. And then you build an actual business instead of just selling a house and then running out and looking for the next lead and the next lead and the next lead, right? And that's exhausting.
I think you're absolutely right, because I feel like that a lot of businesses in all industries have gone down that road, just like you're talking about, with the automations, with the ability to do things instantly, all these different systems that are created. You lose that personal touch. And we see this in brick and mortar businesses and online businesses. And so I think that's really smart that you've gone about this in a service-based way so that you're having more of a personal touch for your business. And I think that's super important to say to people out there, because I feel like like you said, there's not enough of that going on. And I feel like if you take that and ride with it, you're going to be a lot more successful in your business, because that's what people are looking for. Anyone really can teach most of the things that we talk about, but people want accountability. They want that personal feeling, knowing that they're being listened to and that they're getting that personal one-on-one help. I even experienced this at the doctor's office the other day, where, you go in the doctor's office nowadays and they just get you in and out of there like you're cattle, so I feel like having that personal touch is super important. So I'm glad you talked about that. So going to the course, you realize, okay, I've been really successful with my methods. I have a way that I do things that seems to be working, and I enjoy teaching other people. So what did those early days look like a couple years ago? What were some of the first things you did when you decided, okay, I want to take this and turn this into an online program to help others?
I would say the very first thing was that initial idea came to me when I went to my first personal development conference, and we had to sit and come up with our 10 most outrageous, dreams that we had that we wanted to do. And that's actually, I'd never thought about it before. And that's what popped into my head, was being able to have a training program. And I was like, okay, weird, right? And then you kind of have that in your mind now, put it into the universe. A week later, I come home from the conference and I get a phone call from another broker in a different state who says, how on earth did you grow this brokerage from nothing to we're number one in our county with 15 agents? And I'm like, oh, well, my information's not free, so if you want to pay me, I'll come teach you and coach you. And so she did, flew me out to Utah, and I went to her brokerage and coached the owners, and I coached the agents. And essentially I had to prepare. So I had like about 30 days to get something together, because now I've told her like, hey, sure, I can come teach you what to do. And I was like, oh boy, I better figure that part out, right? Because now I've told her I've got this program. And so it kind of pushed me very quickly to get it, pen to paper and get it figured out. The next thing that I did was after I trained that group of agents, came home and I was like, okay, like how do we take it to the masses, right? And refine it and get a little more feedback on it. So I found a group of 10, it was all women. I just reached out to them through Facebook groups, and I said, I'm not a crazy, just so you know. I said, but I'm looking for people that want to, for free, run through this training program. And it was a 12-week training program. And they were like, yeah, okay. And so for me, it was learning in motion, because honestly, it's so easy to get overwhelmed with the large task in front of you. And how do you even break all this down? And the baby steps associated with online courses are so many more than I could have ever imagined, to where I thought, okay, once I get this course done, I'm going to record it and it's going to be done. Like I'm there, right? And that's kind of fun. That's not really the way it went. But as I taught, I prepared them. That gave me time to really prepare each week before I taught these ladies, and then get the feedback and be able to even more like develop and refine my course to know how I could best help them. And then I took it to the recording phase after that, refined it even more, and then recorded the 12. So it's 24 classes is what it is, and recorded all those.
Nice. Now, I have to ask you, is this method that you did doing this 12-week program with these people to go through the process of teaching them and refining your program, is that something you learned how to do, or did you just decide to do that on your own? Did you figure that out by yourself?
So that part I just figured out by myself. I don't know why I picked 12. Well, what I actually did was I broke down just start to finish. That was probably one of the hardest things, was breaking down exactly what I did in my business, being able to identify it, to be able to teach that so specifically. And so I went just start to finish from like when I very first started in my business, and then every component through a transaction, through the end, even as far as I talk about investments and finances, right? We're independent contractors. Finances are important for us. And so I go through all of those pieces. And then it really just was, what do I do? What do I really do in my business? That was probably one of the hardest things I had to do, because it's like you do it and you know how to do it, but communicating that to somebody else and getting it all written down was tough. I mean, it was like mentally draining to extract all that information and try not to miss a piece of it, so that it was all there and very comprehensive for people I was training.
This is really cool. I think that you nailed it, because I feel like this is what most people should do. This is a lot of things that I talk about when creating a course. This is the method that I would suggest to someone, is taking them through a cohort or some kind of what they would call a beta or pilot program, where you have a group of people, you're teaching them along the way, and then you're refining that program, and then you have a finished product at the end of it that you can clean up and make pretty and make nice. I think you did it, exactly right. I feel like it's super powerful, because as you're going through that process, you're getting to find out what people are responding to, what questions they have that you might have forgot to put in there, or maybe you had some extra material in there that you didn't need to include. That happens sometimes. Did you feel the same also about that?
Yes. I did notice rewatching myself as well. That helped me to refine myself, to see when I would maybe be off topic, off track, because I was trying to make it not just condensed, but I don't like to waste people's time. Like time is a really big commodity. I hate wasting time, and I don't want to waste anyone else's time either. And so really, yes, cutting out the junk that maybe I talked about that really wasn't relevant, and breaking down to just the meat of the conversation, or the meat of the training that they needed. So it was so easy and forward. And also putting it, the other thing that I learned, and I actually learned this from taking classes from Brendan Burchard, I could understand his processes very well because he broke them down into steps. It was always like the simplified version. Instead of just talking, you could take the same, paragraph and talk about it, or you could put that paragraph into 4 steps, and it's easier to convey and to be able to give your students action items to do when you've broken it down for them. And so that was something I learned that I also had to implement when I actually did the recording for the class.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think the step idea is a really good one. It makes it easy for people to consume that information. As humans, we just like a step by step process, so that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, this is really cool. What did that workshop look like? So how often were you doing just like one module a week, and was it just like a Zoom call, or was it a live call? Did you have multiple calls? What did the actual workshop look like?
So the actual workshop was once a week, taught for about an hour and a half each week, and we did it via Zoom. I like Zoom as a teacher because I like to be able to see the expressions, and I don't know, there's something different about teaching to people instead of just teaching to a blank screen or on a phone call, because I like that interactive feedback when I'm teaching. And not to jump too far ahead, but one thing that I recognize as a course creator is I created my course and I thought, great, I'm going to get my course. Okay, it's done, right? I'm going to put it out in the world. And what I found out was they need the course and they need the information, but that's like 50% of the problem. And I found out the other 50% was that motivation factor, accountability, and some camaraderie. And in my pilot group, we had that. Like we were all live, and that's how I taught it, was live. And I was hoping as a course creator that I could create the course, automate it, put it out there for people to buy and watch whenever they wanted. And I started seeing that they weren't making it through the course. Then I kind of put 2 and 2 together. It was like, oh, like they had that accountability. They had the camaraderie before when I did it live. And now that it's recorded, they're getting all the same information, but it's not the same experience. And so that is where my coaching was born, to where I actually now coach everyone in my program every week. And you asked, was there additional information that I was missing that I actually added in? I hadn't at the time of the course creation added more information in, because in real estate, I think in anything, right, there's so much information that can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't add anything else in. I coach on a new topic every single week within the basic information that I've already shared with them. And that helps with, having that accountability because they're showing up every week. And then they're also getting that motivation, helps them to keep on moving every single week. And it has helped them to be more engaged and to make it through the entire recorded program, which is the goal for me anyway, is not just to create it and sell it, right? Take the money and run, but is to really impact other people's lives and to help them build their own business.
Yeah, definitely. This goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? Like having that service-based industry. You're still doing the same thing. You're just doing it on a different way with the coaching program now. You're still offering that personal touch that a evergreen course sitting on a platform doesn't get. I think that's super important. I think this is really awesome. So you add in this coaching element so that you can, still meet with people, still give them motivation, answer any questions they have. You said that you coach on a new topic each week. Is it like a group coaching program where you hop on more Zoom calls and you just explain a different topic each week? What does that look like?
Yep. So it is a group coaching setting. I did implement and included in my program now, they get one private coaching session because I want to get to know them a little bit, what their goals are, what their struggles are, what their successes have been. that is great research for me to be able to know what I need to speak to and to help get them where they need to go. So they get a one-on-one coaching, and then the weekly coaching is that group setting. Topics, like today, I coached this morning, and we dove further into market analysis and how to gain confidence and be able to communicate that confidence to a potential listing. Right. So then I give them, again, tactical information on this is exactly like what you can do to be able to become better, become the expert in your area and at this process. Every week there's something new. I did start to also incorporate high performance coaching this year with them as well. So I'm a certified high performance coach. And so we're going through, once a month, we'll hit on a high performance coaching topic. It helps them personally develop. We're 50% personal and we're 50% business. And so I started to recognize that we needed to hit some personal as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I like this. This is a great way of going about this business, and I feel like this can be pertain to all types of industries. So anyone who's listening right now, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is a great way of creating your product, creating your program. Whether you don't have one already or you're thinking about creating one, this makes a lot of sense. You get together a group of people, you take them through a program, you teach them, you refine your program. You take that refinement, you turn those into videos, and then if you want to add a coaching element to it, that's also great. I want to go back and talk about the price for a minute because I know that you mentioned that the first time you did that, you did it for free. And I know that turns off some people because you think to yourself, man, 12 weeks is a long time to be giving your services for free and teaching for free. Now that you've gone through that process and you can look back on that, do you think that was a good idea? Would you recommend people starting off for free just to get the ball rolling in the beginning?
For me, I was good with it because I was using them as test dummies. I felt more comfortable not charging. It actually didn't even cross my mind to charge for it because I was using them as test dummies. If you have a little bit more experience, I would say teaching whatever your platform is, then you probably could get away with charging even though you're developing a new program. At this point now, I'm now developing a broker program and I'm going to charge for the broker program because I've got enough under my belt and understand the process and how to deliver great content and value to whoever my student is. Then I feel like, okay, I don't need test subjects this time. I know what I'm doing. So I think it depends on your level. The one thing that I would not recommend is, when people focus on, I'm going to put a course out there and we're going to charge and, the making money part of things, not letting that override what you really should be doing or what's going to be most beneficial for your development. I think that there is some process that you have to go through. And if you start focusing on the money part of things, then your value that you're providing to your students can be a little flawed because I think your heart's not necessarily in the right place. You're not worried about the content as much as you are about the dollars.
Oh, that is some terrific advice. I think that's brilliant. We're in this to make money, of course, because either we have a job or we're trying to get out of a job or we're trying to make passive income or some kind of income or support our families. And so that becomes a major focus when we enter the business. And of course, you can't have a business if you're not turning a profit, right? But like you said, that can be such a major focus for people that they lose sight of why they should be doing what they should be doing. And that's helping others. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to teaching people, reaching more people, educating them, and helping them achieve their goals. So I think what you said is absolutely brilliant. I think you're absolutely right that you need to focus on the processes and on the development of yourself and your business first, and then the money will follow, right?
Yep, always. That's what I teach my agents. That's why it's, I guess, maybe a natural transition for me. But that's one of the things that I teach my agents is, the paychecks are great. That's a byproduct of the good work that you're doing. And if you focus on the good work, you get the paychecks. Like they will come. And you have to have a little bit of faith in that. Put your energy where it really belongs. And you'll have those blessings essentially of the money later.
Are you struggling to create your first online course? Do you have an idea for a course topic but don't know how to get started? It can be hard trying to figure out everything that goes into course creation. How do you outline your course? How do you set up the technology to create the content? How do you publish it so that you can begin helping others and making money immediately? We know it can be difficult for first-time course creators. That is why we have designed the Start Your First Course Challenge. Our goal is to help you get that online course published within a couple of weeks. That means that you can get your digital product to market without wasting a bunch of time. We will show you how with the easiest methods possible that we have learned and crafted over the years. You'll learn how to choose a topic, outline your course, script what you want to say, and then record the material. After that, you'll discover how to set up the platform and publish it, all with a simple system that's guaranteed to get you results fast. Beat your procrastination by taking action today. Go to startyourfirstcourse.com now to sign up. That's startyourfirstcourse.com. See you in the challenge. So let's just take a moment and let's talk about the marketing, the traffic, the audience building. So I assume that once you got going, you had a little bit of a network inside the real estate industry that you were able, like you said, you were reaching out to people, messaging them. What does it look like today getting new people into your program? What kind of marketing strategies are you using, or anything that you find that seem to be working really well right now to get more people into this program?
The first thing that I started with was a Facebook group. And me not knowing, I didn't know to capture emails when I created a Facebook group. So that took me a little while to catch on to that. But I started with a Facebook group so I could start delivering some free content so people could get to know me and my teaching style and start to become interested, right, in what I had to offer. So free Facebook group. I also started teaching a free class every week. So I still do to this day. Every single Friday morning, I teach a free class. Anybody can attend. They do have to register. So that helps me to build my email list and have those people to market to. But then they're receiving, great value and information from me. I take those, I start putting those on YouTube so that I can reach more people. At the same time, I actually developed a real estate planner. It's something that I did for myself through just an independent company. And I was like, geez, you can't find this out there. And I looked planner after planner after planner, and it was something that I needed. And so I was like, you know what? Other people are going to need this too. If I need it, other people do. And one of the things I had been encouraged to do in the program when I learned how to create a course was to also have a product. And I thought, well, crap, I'm a real estate agent. What kind of, I'm teaching real estate. Like, what kind of product am I supposed to have? Well, light bulb, right? I'm a planner. So it's been just a year. We're in our second season. And I developed an actual paper planner, not digital. As realtors, we're talking on the phone. So it's great to be able to write something down when we're talking. And I have that. So when I market my planner, which is easy to run ads for a product and get a lot of interest that way, I mail out to them when they get the planner. They also get access to a free course, one of my trainings that I've done. And then they also get information about my Elevate Mastermind group, which is my coaching program. And so I've had people, when I ask, where did you find me? How did you join? How'd you join Elevate? YouTube and my planner. Those are actually now like the number one and number two for where people are finding me and my products.
Yeah, that's really cool. When I was on your Agent Leader website, I saw the planner and thought to myself, like, oh man, a planner for real estate agents. That's a brilliant idea, because it's a very niche product, for a specific industry, but everyone can use a planner. I mean, who couldn't use one of those? So that's really cool. It gives you, another revenue stream. It also gets another way to get people into your business and learn more about you and bring them in. So that's really cool. And then I like the free training idea. So how are you hosting the free training? That's done through your website, correct?
So they sign up on my website. There's a free training link on my website and a little explanation video of what it is. And then they can sign up to receive the Zoom link and also be added to the email list so they can receive what the topic is for the week. And then they can join the Zoom live or they can watch the replay. Again, yeah, live Zoom class. So I can be able to get feedback and answer questions. And sometimes I'll do, some individual coaching if people have questions about transactions or whatnot. I can be able to answer those questions for them.
So you do that live, you take the questions, you go through this training that's helping you refine your training, the things that you can talk about and teach about, and then you take that video and you just upload that straight to YouTube so people can find it on there.
Correct. So some of the videos are up there forever. This is an interesting thing about course creation as well, as I was creating a new product and I didn't know it. So again, when we talk about like giving service, right, and not expecting money in return at the moment, but having that benefit later, I now have about 60 training videos that are supplemental just from my free trainings on Fridays that I have now taken all of those because they're not all on YouTube. Or if I do put them on YouTube, it's temporarily up for a week, the entire training video that they can watch, and then it comes down. If they would like access to it and the entire library, I now have a Blueprint library product where it's a subscription model to where they can have access to all these trainings anytime they want. And then, of course, a new one's added every single week. So I'm up to about 60 trainings in there right now. And yeah, just keeps growing.
That's really cool. I think you've made some really cool decisions. I like a lot of your business model, and I really appreciate you sharing this information because I think that if someone were to go back and listen to this podcast episode and change the word real estate with whatever niche that you're in, you could replicate this same business structure and have success. Because I feel like the things that you have done, from the way you did the workshop to your coaching program to your physical planner product to your free trainings and your YouTube and your email list, I feel like you could just take this and put it in any industry and it would work. So I think what you've done here is absolutely brilliant. Thinking back to when you first started a couple years ago, getting into courses, everything was kind of new and you were figuring things out, and how far you've come now. And thinking about the person who's listening who is early in their online course creation journey, maybe they don't have a course yet, or maybe they're just starting out. What would be your one piece of advice that you could give someone listening today?
I would say Post-it notes. It took me a while and I figured out if I just would write down every idea that I had and put it on a Post-it note, and I would tack that Post-it note on a corkboard. And I just kept doing that over and over. And then I took all those Post-it notes, I looked at them and I started to categorize them. Like, okay, what really goes together here? And I don't, just because I'm a visual person, I'm sure there's some really fancy program on a computer where you could do the same thing. But there was something very empowering to have that thought and be able to get it out of your head, write it down, and leave space and room for another thought to come into your head. Right. So I think if you're want to create a course and you're not sure if you have enough knowledge or enough content to be able to create a course or to help someone, go to the Post-it notes. Because what you'll realize is you know a lot more than you maybe give yourself credit for, that you could be able to package into a course and market.
Yeah, I love the Post-it notes myself. You were reminding me of a time we travel all around the country, and we were staying in a condo in Wisconsin, and I was trying to put together my own program for help people create online courses. And I went to the Post-it notes, and we had this really long hallway going from the bedroom to the living room. And I remember that day just sitting there writing Post-it note after Post-it note. I must have went through multiple packs of Post-it notes and had them all scattered out on this wall. And then I was organizing them. And my wife came in and looked at me like, "Jeremy, you have lost your mind. What are you doing?" But I'm like you. I'm very visual, and I feel like it really helps you. And what's cool about those Post-it notes is they're sticky, so you can take them and move them around and say like, okay, this goes here, this goes here. So I love the Post-it notes. Very cool. So just thinking about your own business, you've come a long way from having this a midlife epiphany that you wanted to do real estate, to helping other agents learn how to do what you've accomplished. Where do you see yourself going in the next 2, 5, or 10 years from here? What would you like to accomplish?
I want to reach more people. I feel like this year is the year to scale and to continue to scale so I can continue to help more people. One of my agents that's in my group, she was coaching me, which was really great. She's not a coach, but she was giving me a little pep talk. And I said to her, so I'm still selling 90 houses a year by myself and doing this all at the same time. And I can't quit selling houses because that's where field knowledge comes from that I'm imparting to my agents. So I can't really get rid of that. So there's this interesting balance with me that there's a lot of coaches out there, and even in the real estate industry that don't sell anything. It's like, well, if you're not in the trenches, it's real hard to have all these insights that are going to help your agents. And so I can't get rid of it. But I did determine I'm going to have to figure out how to scale back a little bit because, and this is what my agent told me. She said, I know that she knows I love to sell houses, right? And I'm helping. I said, it's really hard for me to say that I can't help as many people as I'm used to helping to purchase and sell. And she said, yes. She said, but your reach goes so much further when you teach us what to do. She's like, so don't discount what you're teaching us and that time isn't as precious or as helpful as you just helping one single person to buy or sell a house. And I was like, that's exactly what I needed to hear to scale and reach more people. Just knowing that I can be able to affect so many more lives. That's what's important to me. The single mom who needs to support her family, or the family that's struggling to pay the bills. I keep my course affordable for a reason because I want it to be reachable for people. I really do. Could I charge $5,000 or $10,000 for it? I could. There's so much value in it. I full on could. But I was that person that would not have been able to afford that. And, I'm not just catering to the rich. That's not who I'm choosing to help. So scaling is going to be very interesting and a delicate balance. But I'm excited to reach more people.
That's beautiful, Lisa. I love it. And I think that you will do great things in the future to come. And I hope that you have a lot of success on this journey. I think you've provided a wealth of knowledge for us today. And I think this is a really great podcast episode that everyone's going to get a lot of value from. And I personally just thank you for coming on the show today. If people want to find out more about your business, or maybe they're interested in real estate, or they'd like to see how you have things set up, where can they do that?
So agentleader.com. And then I've got links on there. You can find me on Facebook at Agent Leader or my personal profile, Lisa Bingley.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we link up everything in the show notes for people so they have easy access to you. And again, thanks for coming on the show today. I really do appreciate it. And I just hope you have the most success going into the future.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Lisa. You can find out more about her and her business by visiting agentleader.com, or you can get the show notes of this episode along with links and resources by visiting onlinecourseignitor.com/72. Keep focused, everyone, and I will see you all next week for a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Online Course Igniter podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening so that you don't miss an episode. If you would like to learn more marketing strategies and how to sell your online course, then also check out our free community where we share tips, tricks, and tutorials at onlinecourseigniter.com/community.